Alright, let's do one of these without being muted from the first minute. Hello everybody, how's it going? My name is Aaron Knoll, welcome back to TMG Entertainment, and today I'm here doing a review of the brand new release in theaters yesterday, City of Lies. This is a film that only just recently got on its marketing kick about a week ago, and the last time the trailer was about 3 years ago, so if you don't know what this film is, I'm going to do my best to remain spoiler free on it, but it's certainly an interesting one. City of Lies is directed by director Brad Furman, who over the last couple of years has directed some decent films. He made The Lincoln Lawyer. He directed the Ben Affleck film Runner Runner, and he also directed the Bryan Cranston film The Infiltrator. And the film stars Johnny Depp and Forrest Whitaker in the story of Russell Poole, played by Depp, and journalist Jack Jackson, played by Forrest Whitaker. Yeah, his name is Jack Jackson. As they work together to dive deeper into the murders of Tupac Shakur and the notorious B.I.G. nearly 20 years after Poole initially investigated it for the LAPD. The film also touches into Poole's history of investigating corrupt cops within the LAPD, the death of Officer Kevin Gaines, and the arrest of Officer Rafael Perez, which then led to the reveal of the Rampart scandal and the very highly likely but technically never confirmed connection of the corrupt LAPD cops to Suge Knight and Death Row Records. It is based on a 2002 book, Labyrinth, spelled L-A-Brinth, as the movie was originally titled, written by Randall Sullivan, who Whitaker's character is based upon. And basically the movie creates a semi-fictional backstory structure through which Poole and Jackson meet and then study the case, which itself is shown through flashbacks of Depp investigating it. For those of you who may have heard of this film under its original title, Labyrinth, the film has been a long-delayed production that wrapped up production in 2017 and was set to release in 2018. However, a series of legal troubles and lawsuit launches began before its original release in 2018 that withheld the film from distribution. Though it was never confirmed, it is believed by many who have inspected the suits that they were launched in an effort by the LAPD to suppress the film, as admittedly the evidence in it is clearly indicting them in multiple murders, and it's believed that they feared the possibility of having a reopened case and a suit against them, especially because the film is clearly supporting the idea that police were involved in it, so much so that Biggie's own mother, Valletta Wallace, supported the film and makes a brief appearance as herself for one scene. That being said, let's stop setting up the film and get into it. And easily the best thing about this film is Johnny Depp and Forrest Whitaker. Both actors give great performances, and they have great on-screen chemistry. I don't know if they've ever worked together before. I can't remember offhand if they have. But they have great chemistry in this film together, playing off of each other. And their scenes are not only a bulk of the film, but they are what keep it interesting. Another big positive for this film is the movie takes all of the information from the case, which is public, and I decided before doing the review to fact check a lot of it myself. I was just curious as to how much of it was accurate, and it is a very accurate film in terms of these are the facts that were presented and collected within the case, accounting to Russell Poole's real investigation, however making it clear that these were never charged in court, and the film's reasoning for the lack of charging is due to the corruption within the LAPD. But the film takes the facts and presents them in such a way with the formatting that, to me at least, made it really endearing and entertaining throughout a majority of the runtime. I also think that the writing has some weak points too, and we'll get to those, but the writing of its characters presents both its protagonists and the victims of the crimes, whether it be, Tupac or Biggie or those killed in the events surrounding their deaths, as well as the people who are affected by the deaths of people in the film, whether it's, Biggie's mother or a fan they portray witnessing Biggie's death, or even for a moment, you meet one of the corrupt cops' wife in a scene briefly, and it's, even though this guy that she was married to isn't a good guy, you see the effect it's having on her and her future with her children, and it does all of this in a way that makes the likable characters likable, but even makes the unlikable characters, you feel affection for them and understand their struggle throughout the course of the film. Um, some of the negatives with this film, it makes a lot of really interesting editing choices. Lots of quick cuts, flashing lights at points in flashback scenes. Lots of really weird camera angles at times, specifically on close-ups of actors. It's never like just completely amateurish and sloppy, but it does feel like a film at times that got reworked in editing for worse effect. The way they place some of the story beats feel like this is something that got shuffled up at the last minute. And considering it does come in under 2 hours, it makes me wonder if that was the original vision for the film or if something got messed up when they were redistributing it recently. Um, Another interesting piece about this film is, for whatever reason, whether it was out of respect because Violetta Wallace was involved or whatever reasoning they have, they never cast an actor to play Christopher Wallace, aka the notorious B.I.G. And the only problem with that is more than once they flash back and show the night of his death through the use of both what I believe was real time news footage and set up shots, like reenacted shots of it. But because they don't have a casted actor playing him, it's just a stand in of some kind. They're consistently cutting the shots in such a way that you don't see his face, which to me at least was more distracting than just sticking someone in the role. Even if you did, like I forget the gentleman's name, but the gentleman that played him in, I think it's called Notorious, in the 2009 film, and then he reprised the role again in the All Eyes on Me, the Tupac film. Even if you brought someone like him in, just so you can see the face and get somebody who looks like him in, it's just really distracting at times that they're constantly cutting away and not showing his face, especially when he has moments where he's interacting with fans. It's a really weird way to do the scene. And finally, to me, the biggest weakness is the film's writer, in the kind of framing device of how they get to the flashbacks, rewrites certain parts of Poole and Jackson's real life to create a sense of falsified drama. At least from what I could find, I couldn't find anything that verifies that these were real events that happened, but it writes in storylines like Jackson's tension at his reporting job and family drama with Poole when his real life comments seem to indicate that he actually had a good relationship with his family and that they were, just without going too deep into it, at one point in his life after resigning from the LAPD, he contemplated suicide, and he named his family as the number one reason he didn't. But in the film, he's like the father who became too invested in the case for his own good, and it drove his family away. There's also falsified scenes where information is revealed that causes friction between Jackson and Poole for a couple of scenes, and then they get over it and move on and continue working together. These added elements to me stood out in a bad way, and they took away and derailed the film for the moments they were in it, but it never happened enough to completely take away. And that leads me to kind of my overall consensus on the film is the film is at its best when it's focused on the case. At times, it does have really iffy and odd editing choices and shot composition choices, and the fictionalized, supposedly, at least in my eyes, the fictionalized writing doesn't help the show necessarily, or help the movie, excuse me, necessarily. I think it hurts it more than anything. But the chemistry between Whitaker and Depp is what carries this film. And I think if this is a case you either don't know anything about, like I did going in, I honestly didn't know very much about it, and or if you're someone who's really studied the case, I think it presents the information in an interesting enough way that you both come away having learned something, even if it is probably with a slant bias, and then you can do your own research for yourself to see how much you agree. But it does it in an engrossing way that keeps you entertained. And at the end of the day, even though the film's not perfect, that's what it is about. It's about keeping a person entertained while watching the film. And at the end of the day, to me, it does succeed in doing that, even if it's not perfect. And for that reason, I'm going to give City of Lies a final score of a 3.5 out of 5. It's not perfect, but it is overall solid. And if you are in a position where you can see it in a theater, it is released in theaters right now, but it's a kind of semi-limited release. It'll be on VOD in a few weeks. If it's something you can afford to rent in a little bit, or maybe when it goes down cheaper, I would definitely recommend it because it is entertaining. It's a good film. It's a solid film. Um, with some little issues here or there. And another thing is this case and this whole thing about the LAPD is something that's been explored in other films. And so if you've seen different films like the Death Row Suge Knight connection, that was stuff they kind of explored a little bit in Straight Outta Compton. If we're talking about the Crash program and the Rampart scandal, while it's not directly explored, that was a lot of the basis for the Denzel Washington film Training Day. And so these are things that have been explored in other films. And so to me, having that background knowledge made the connections a little easier here. So that's just kind of another interesting thing is it's material we've seen before, just a different portion of that material that I think overall is done solidly. With that being said, though, guys, thank you so much for checking out this review. Please be sure to subscribe to the channel and stick around. Myself and the channel head, Matt Beer, are doing all sorts of reviews and trailer reactions to all the recent happenings in the world of movies. And we also have our weekly shows. Be sure to check those out. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. My name is Aaron Knoll, and I will see you guys next time.